All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for signing up and attending this exploration in evolution and consciousness. Before I jump into the meat and potatoes here, it's necessary for me to tell you who I am, what my history is, my education, accreditation, and other disclaimers before we jump in. So first off, I am a student, longtime student of astrology. I've studied this stuff for the last 23 years, first with a philosopher, astrologer named Pat Kaluza in Minneapolis. Studied with her for many years, and then I went through Stephen Forrest's apprenticeship program and became a certified master astrologer in the Stephen Forrest School of Evolutionary Astrology. And the very first thing I want to offer as my disclaimer is that I understand that there's a heavy emphasis in this group on the Jeffrey Wolf Green School of Evolutionary Astrology. That school is not something that I've studied too much. I read his Pluto book many years ago, but it's the Stephen Forrest School of Evolutionary Astrology that I've been trained in, and it is his techniques that I use professionally in my readings, and there are many things that I have learned through experience about a very interesting integration between what my understanding is of the Jeffrey Wolf Green system of looking at Pluto and its polarity point, and combining that consciously with Stephen's techniques of developing the past life story through nodal analysis. And so what I would like to do is offer this hour as an exploration. I'd like to say, I guess in the disclaimer part, is that everything I'm about to say, I might say like I really know something, but the disclaimer is like I really know. Where did this astrology stuff all come from? Who made it up? Did Moses come down from Mount Sinai with these 10 commandments, saying this is the way astrology is, this is how it works, this is the meaning, and this is the whys and the wherefores, and follow this and you'll all be good? I think we're making this stuff up as we go. I think individuals like Dane Rudyard, and Mark Edmund Jones, and Jeffrey Wolf Green, Stephen Forrest, Martin Schulman, and Ray Merriman, and we have for the last, well, I suppose since we discovered Pluto, we have been looking at human consciousness through this lens of astrology and applying this word evolution to it. And so what I'd like to do in this hour is explore this word evolution. What is this all about? What does this mean? Why are we choosing to look at astrology through this lens of evolution? And how is that different from other forms of astrology, etc.? So I guess more of the disclaimer that I'd like to say is that a lot of what I'll be talking about is what I have learned from Stephen Forrest and my experience in using those techniques in actual readings, and how I've heard back from individuals how it works, how effective certain things are, how resonant certain things are that Mr. Astrologer says to the client, and then to hear back, oh yeah, oh, this was the thing in my life, and this was the thing I'm learning, and this is where I'm going, and this is da 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 da. So the disclaimer is basically, one, we're making it all up as we go, but two, there's got to be something. There's something real here. There's something tangible here. There's something, I don't want to call it predictable, but there's something repeatable here. These techniques that we're learning through the various schools of evolutionary astrology, they're so incredibly powerful and so incredibly effective in helping an individual understand their trajectory of growth and evolution through this life. They're so powerful. I want to celebrate that, and I also want to explore this because it has elicited questions in me like, well, how does this stuff all work? Where does this stuff all come from? I mean, surely we have all asked on some level with ourselves, why is it that Jupiter and its placement in the sky in relation to a particular season that it's flowing through, how does that have some sort of relation to me and my consciousness and my evolution? I mean, what the heck? These planets millions of miles away somehow have this effect on us and somehow have this metaphorical representation in our lives? How the heck does that work? And so I'm not going to necessarily give an answer for that, because I think this is something we're all exploring. But again, the word is exploration. I want to offer this talk as an explanation, as an exploration, not an explanation. So the topic is evolution. We're growing, we're learning, we're evolving. We use these techniques of looking at the south node, looking at Pluto, looking at the Pluto polarity point, looking at the north node, developing stories, trying to find ways of what? Why are we even doing this in the first place? And so that question right there, I think, is incredibly important, because it all comes down to that question. We can say we want healing. We can say we want to heal our wounds. We want to release our anger. We want to, heal this rift in us that maybe makes it really difficult to engage in public speaking or whatever it is. Why do I have these relationships? I think the very most important thing that as astrologers, when we look at the birth chart, the most important thing goes beyond what is the nature of the wound and how do we heal it, because I believe that the question that we're really wanting to ask is actually quite simple. How can we just be happy? We say we want more money, we say we want a better relationship, we say we want to heal this wound or that wound, we want to find out why we have this disproportionate reaction to this stimulus. And so the first thing I'm going to suggest is that when we look at anything astrologically, we have to ask the very core, hardcore question: how are we to be happy? What is it that we need to be happy? What is this happiness thing? Again, we say we want healing, we want to fix this thing. I think what we're really, really, really saying, the one question that it all comes down to, is how can we just be happy? So then what's happiness? Well, that's another big question. The freedom from the wound, the freedom from pain, the ability to go confidently into the dream and bring it into reality. There's so many ways we can say it. And so if the intention, and this is just, again, this is exploration, I'm not saying this is. If the intention of any aspect, any point, any wound, any complexity, any Uranus square the south node, I believe, I'm going to suggest that the real question that we're all asking in anything is, where is the happiness? What does it come down to? And so I've been exploring this. Okay, so we have, say we have the planet Uranus squaring the nodes. And in the various systems, we can say, oh, that was a skipped step. Oh, Uranus, there was some serious trauma, some sudden shocking event occurred. Uranus and Libra in the 5th house, squaring the south node in Cancer. Maybe there was a sudden loss of a child. And so, just as a possibility. And so the question then comes, even if that were the case, even if we have this skipped step of integrating some traumatic experience, or Pluto is square the nodes, or Venus, or whatever it is, the question always comes down to how do we find our happiness? What's the original intention of our existence in the first place? Sounds like a good question. We can do our analysis with Pluto and the nodes, and one has to wonder how and why we got here in the first place. Now, full disclaimer, I am Sagittarian. I am a Neptunian, Mercurial Sagittarian. And so a lot of who I am, astrologically speaking, and through my own personal experience, is asking these big questions. Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of it all? So let's deal with the facts. Well, the fact is we exist. So since we exist, it would then stand to reason that there is a reason for our existence. And here's the trick. If there is no reason for our existence, then it's all a big joke, and I have no idea how this astrology could even possibly work, because it's just all chaotic happenstance, and ha ha ha, this universe is a big joke. See ya on the other end. If there is another end, ha ha ha, could be just another illusion, ha ha. So in order for myself, anyways, to keep from going absolutely insane or devolving into some sort of nihilism, I have to engage in this astrology stuff with probably the basic core assumption, and it is an assumption, that there has to be some original intention that created this universe. Who knows, really? In the Ojibwe language, their word for God is Gichimanadu, and that has been mistranslated as Great Spirit. But the actual literal translation of Gichimanadu in the Ojibwe language is Great Mystery. We don't know. How are we ever going to know? And since we don't know, what are we going to do? We're going to look at nature. We're going to look at the rhythm and we're going to look at the cycles, and we are going to project our meaning onto it. And so one definition of astrology in my book, one possible definition, is the projection of meaning onto the rhythms and the cycles and the seasons of the solar system, of the astronomy. And so one thing I like to do when I'm trying to find meaning in all of this craziness is to come back to the astronomical realities and look at them as logically as I possibly can, and then see how whatever these planets or these seasons represent find or make up the meaning in that. Let's take something non-astrological, try to find meaning in it, project meaning on it. I live in Wisconsin, near the West Fork of the Kickapoo River, and I can look at the river very surface. Oh, it is a big sewer for water to drain off the hills and make its way to the ocean. Sure, I can look at it that way. I can also project my meaning onto the river. Oh, the river is flowing the way our emotions flow, and it's always changing, but it's the same water. And I put this poetry onto it. And the river goes from being just this sewer into this psycho-spiritual reflection of something within me. What's the real meaning of the river? Well, the real meaning of the river is whatever the heck I say it's going to be. And so I'm going to suggest that that's what we've done with astrology. That ever since we started waking up as Homo sapiens, we're coming out of our Neanderthalness, and we're gathered around the fire, and me and Doug and Ralph were sitting around the fire, and we're wondering where the moon is. Where's the moon? That thing in the sky. It was really bright and big 2 weeks ago, but now it's disappeared. Oh, and where have the women gone? Oh, they went into their red tent. They're doing their monthly thing. And Doug and Ralph and I are kind of scratching our heads going, oh, that's kind of weird. Because when that moon was really full, I mean, there was a party. There was drumming, and we were feasting and making love. And now there's no moon, and now the women have gone away. I wonder if there's some sort of relationship between that. The moon goes dark. The women go away. There must be some sort of relationship. Oh, what was that, Doug? You say that there's some flow of moonstral blood that happens at this time? That's interesting. Every time that moon is new or disappears. Moon, woman, moon, woman, mother, nurturing, mother, caring, mother. Oh, moon, mother. Oh, yeah, good job, Doug. No, I didn't say anything. My wife told me about that. Oh, well, good job. So what, was that the birth of astrology? Was that the birth of our projecting meaning onto the cosmos? I don't know. I wasn't there. Again, this is an exploration. And so then what happened? We get out of the last ice age, and this crazy bright light in the sky starts to become more apparent, and it warms things up when it gets really high in the sky. And then later on, many months later, the sun, it gets lower in the sky, and it gets colder, and then it gets higher, and it gets warmer, and it gets lower, and it gets colder, and we start to note the seasons, and we start to chart and graph the movement of the sun in the seasons. And we're projecting meaning now onto this bright fireball in the sky, because with these seasons, we can begin to track animals and their migratory movements. We can know that, oh, now is the time to put seeds in the ground, because that sun is going to get hotter, and we'll have a season of growth. Oh, we can determine our life. We can take our power with that. We can create our sustenance with that sun. So we're going to project meaning onto this sun, that is the source of life, of light, of warmth. And we're going to find that reflection in us. Well, geez, what else is out there? And we're starting to look, and we see all these lights in the night sky, but some of them are acting differently than others. Oh, those must be, well, we have the sun god and we have the moon goddess. These other things must be gods too. Oh, look at that one. That one's so close to the sun. That one's never really far away from the sun. Maybe that's what speaks to spirit. Oh yeah, let's call that Hermes or Mercury, the communicator between us and spirit. Yeah, look how fast it moves. Oh, kind of like the mind, like thoughts. Oh yeah, projecting meaning. Oh, what else is out there? Ooh, look at that bright star, that bright planet out there. That's got to be the goddess of love and beauty. Look how cool and blue and alluring she is. Oh, I just feel at peace. Oh, look at that one there. That one's red. That's hot and fiery like blood, which was what happens after I take my sword out in war. There's the god of war. So is astrology all made up? Is astrology something that we have created to try to make sense out of this mystery? Or is there something else? Is there some original intention? Did something or someone or some mystery or some slight quantum fluctuation, what happened? The universe exists. So I'm going to suggest that we as astrologers explore the possibilities of what the meaning is, not only of the sun or Lilith or the nodes of the moon or Pluto, but that we find an archetypal representation, if you will, for the original intention which created the universe. Yes, I am suggesting that we explore the mind of God, a very delicate subject in astrology. Plenty of astrologers will not broach the subject of the line between humanity and divinity. We can say words like I know some very, very, very religious Christian astrologers whom I've asked, well, why does all this stuff work? And their response, well, because God made it that way. That's possible. I'm not ruling that out. However, what I like to have is some sort of archetypal representation of some sort of answer. At least with the moon, we have the archetypal representation that what we're dealing with here is a heart, love, that feeling of deep-rooted connection, ancient deep-rooted connection. And it's seen in the archetypology, and we can prove that through thousands and thousands of case studies where we've talked about the moon and heard back from our clients that, yes, there is relation there. But what I want to know is why do we exist in the first place? Why do we have past lives where we have experienced woundedness, which we are, if we are conscious, aware individuals in this life, choose to work through and heal and reclaim fragmented parts of our soul from past lives so as to, according to astrologer Ryan Evans, so as to be a little happier and then maybe contribute more to humanity? Why? Why does it exist? So these big questions are basically the big questions that have been asked since time immemorial. And I don't have an answer. I have ideas and I have suggestions. And I think if we opened this up in a forum discussion, that maybe we could all collectively get a little closer to what we think maybe the original intention was for the creation of the universe. But I almost want to say that if we don't know what that is, then are we just doomed to keep repeating this cycle of birth and death forever and ever and ever? For what? And so here's my suggestion. And it's not new, it's not original. But my suggestion is that, well, I'm going to reference J.R.R. Tolkien's creation mythology, just as a possibility. In his book, The Silmarillion, which is the prelude to his Lord of the Rings books, he has a creation myth where he says, in the beginning, there was Eru, whom the elves called Iluvatar, and he was alone. And it came into his mind to create a great music. And so what he did was he created an orchestra. There was Manwe, god of lord of the air and the skies, and his wife, Varda, queen of the night, queen of the stars, and etc. There was Ulmo, the god of the sea, if you will. And Aule, there was the god of the earth who created the dwarves. But there was also a being he created named Melkor. And to Melkor, he gave the gifts of knowledge, free will, and power. And there was a first music that was created, and it was big, and it was beautiful, and it was loud. And Melkor came into his mind, what would happen if I added a little discord? What would happen if I warped this note a little bit? What would happen if I pulled down on this string that this person, this god is trying to build? And the music came up, and Melkor's discord brought the music crashing down, and Iluvatar raised up his right hand and cleared the deck, and the music came up again, this time softer and slower, with a little more sadness and more melancholy, but it built and it built and it built into this fiery crescendo that Melkor once again brought down with his discord. And Iluvatar, more stern, raised his left hand. And once again the music came up, thunderous and huge, and then rested a bit. And once again, Melkor twisted the minds of the other musicians, if you will, in order to have the music bend to his will. And the music came crashing down again. And Iluvatar said to Melkor, he said, no matter what you do, no matter what discord you add, no matter how you bring the music down, it will only, in the end, add to the glory and beauty of my song. And so I take astrological hope in that story, in thinking, in assuming that no matter what woundedness we experience, no matter what pain, no matter what trauma, no matter what hell, no matter what horrible breakup or divorce, no matter what tragedy, no matter what bankruptcy, no matter what shadow experience we have on this planet, that what we are doing is playing some music that has been suggested by the forces of the universe that predate the birth of the universe. Maybe. But let's assume for a second that there is an original intention of the universe, and the universe was created. And the intention of the universe was to have a beautiful music, maybe? The intention of the universe is for all of us, for what to, no matter what we do, have it in the end add only to the glory and the beauty of the great song. So the universe was created and it was all pure energy. And then eventually that energy cooled down into electromagnetism and gravity. And eventually that cooled down and we had our first subatomic particles, quarks and leptons. And eventually that cooled down and we had our first nuclear reactions. The first suns were born. And so when I'm thinking this way, I'm thinking of a point, and I'm thinking of a beginning, and I'm thinking of a ray of trajectory of intention that started at the beginning, the birth of the universe. And this ray, this trajectory of intention started out as energy and cooled down and cooled down and cooled down. We had the birth of the first suns, and then those suns exploded and eventually cooled down and exploded, and we had all of the elements, and eventually other suns were created. And to make a long story short, in the trajectory of the birth and the creation of the universe, our sun was created. And all the little dust clouds, comets from other areas get caught in the gravitational electromagnetic field of the sun. And in that sun, in our sun, that fireball, that thermonuclear reaction, somewhere in there is contained the intention that whose trajectory can be traced back to the birth of the universe. In fact, all matter, everything that exists, can be traced back to the birth of the universe. I mean, it makes sense, right? But what about consciousness? Was consciousness created by the birth and death of stars? Was consciousness created by energy cooling down into electromagnetism and gravity cooling down into quarks and leptons? And so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the consciousness that exists in you, and please raise your hand if you don't feel like you have consciousness. I didn't see any hands. And so I'm going to suggest that that consciousness that is within us has its roots in the original intention which created the universe. So somewhere inside of us, there's all the answers. Somewhere inside of us, there is the reason for the existence of the universe. And so we say we want to heal our wounds. We say we want to look at the Pluto process. We say we want to understand why we might have a Venus-Mars series, Juno, Vertex, Lilith conjunction, and fifth house Scorpio intercepted. But I'm going to suggest that what we're really trying to find out is what is the intention of the creation of the universe. And therefore, what is our role in playing out, acting out, presenting, or playing the music of whatever the original intention was at the beginning of the universe. So we say we want to heal our wounds. We say we want to find out our past life story. We say we want to engage in our evolution. I think one of the most important things to understand before we try to understand our evolution is that we understand our involution. Spirit into form. Involution. Because here as evolutionary astrologers, we're talking about evolution. The evolution of matter or form into spirit. So I want to suggest that if we're going to start talking about evolution and the healing of the wounds and the Pluto process and trying to make sense of the evolutionary purpose of the Venus-Mars series, Juno, Vertex, Lilith conjunction, and fifth house Scorpio intercepted, that we take a minute as astrologers and ask for a second, what is our involution? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am the first involutionary astrologer. What is the purpose and the meaning of our coming into form in the first place? And so, I don't know that I want to jam on that question too much longer, but I think it is a very important question that we ask ourselves as evolutionary astrologers, is what is our involutionary intention? Why and how, but why did that which is spiritual or that which exists energetically above and beyond time and our physical body? Because we're talking about our eternal self, right? Energy is never created nor destroyed, right? Raise your hand if you have energy in your body. Yes, all your hands go up. And so since energy is never created nor destroyed, then theoretically, part of us has been around since the birth of the universe, and part of us will be around until the end of the universe. So there's trajectory there. There's trajectory of intention there. And so here's my suggestions. Here's my food for thought. Here's the exploration that I wish to have a conversation with every evolutionary astrologer about. Because I don't really know. I'm just making it up. Is what was the original intention that got us here in the first place? Now, I don't know if you can all see this. South Node in Cancer, first house. The ruler, Moon and Leo in the third house. Squared by Uranus and Libra in the fifth house. Square and South Node squared by Chiron, Eris, conjoined in 10th house, Aries. North Node in 7th house, Capricorn, with its ruler, Saturn and Gemini, in the 12th house. Now, using Stephen Forrest's technique of past life nodal analysis, what we can say is that in a past life, this individual was a first house Cancer solitary caregiver. Doing what? Caring for his what? Brothers and sisters, trying to keep them happy, trying to keep them alive because of some tragedy, some trauma where one of them got lost or something happened and some horrible, sudden, shocking wound happened in the world to force this individual into being some solitary caregiver, trying to third house, make it up as he goes along, improvise in ever-changing circumstances, third house. And I can look at this and I can say, okay, here's a past life story. And this individual's incarnation in this life says, using Stephen Forrest's technique of nodal analysis, and I believe Jeffrey Wolf Green's, is that there's the skipped step of Uranus in Libra in the fifth house, the skipped step of Chiron, Eris in Aries in the 10th. Somehow this individual was not able to get past the fear of the treachery of the world, and was not able to come out with their authentic creative expression, thus keeping them hidden, Cancer, in this lonely first house place. Now I can say this to a client, and maybe that client's like, oh yeah, that totally reminds me of this life where, I'm doing this thing and I'm taking care of my kids and blah, 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 blah. And I can say, well, how did we get there in the first place? What was the original intention? And I can say that no matter what the nodal analysis is, that there was an original intention, regardless of the chart. I can change this chart 100,000 times, that the original intention was for anybody, any past life story, any intention was to be happy. Anybody, any intention in any story is to play their own unique music as dictated by the original intention of the birth of the universe, which was, according to J.R.R. Tolkien, to have a beautiful music. And so I can look at this and I can tell this individual, hey, here's the way out. The way out is to do Uranus right. And the way out is to do Chiron Eris right. It's going to be the hardest work. this individual has ever done, just taking the Uranian piece, the overcoming of trauma, the overcoming of sudden shocking events, Uranus, the overcoming of the fear of the world, Chiron and Eris and Aries. This individual in this life is working through this drama, working through this trauma drama. Why? In order to play, it's a suggestion, in order to play their best music, in order to contribute their part to the great grand beauty of the magnificence that existence could be. So what's the way out? The way out, the North Node. The great grand suggestion that has no weight. There's no gravity there. There's nothing pulling us saying, oh, I'm compelled to do the North Node. No, we're compelled to do our South Node over and over and over and over again until we get this right. So, I'm suggesting that involution, spirit comes into form through the South Node of the Moon. Because let's face it, what does spirit know about form? What does consciousness know about form? What do angels know about humans? And so here we are, we're coming into this realm of form, and we're thrown into the drama, we're thrown into the passion play, and spirit trying to process the nature of form makes mistakes. We slip up. We don't have it all figured out. We're just coming into form in order to, just a suggestion, play our beautiful music. Our own unique instrument, our own unique song, contributing to the great grand music of the One. Involution comes in through the South Node. Now, here's another suggestion. Pluto is an actual physical form in our solar system, and therefore represents an actual physical process with which our consciousness engages. And so my suggestion here is that the trajectory of soul, the trajectory of consciousness that was around before the beginning of the universe is outside of the physicality of our solar system, and therefore cannot be represented by any planetary archetype in our solar system. And so therefore consciousness, being beyond time, being eternal, enters into form through the eclipse points, because anytime there is an eclipse, there is an interruption in the normal electromagnetic flow of the sun and the earth and the moon. There's a rebooting. There is a chance for that which is extra-dimensional or trans-dimensional, consciousness being trans-dimensional, extra-dimensional, existing outside of the physicality of this solar system. During eclipses, our consciousness enters into form. The south node, involution. And we fall, we stumble into this realm of form, and in this realm of form, in this realm of changes, there is the archetype, using J.R.R. Tolkien's archetypology, there is the archetype of Melkor. There is free will, knowledge, and power. And ever since the birth of human civilization, we have had this yearning to express our knowledge, our free will, and our power. Pluto, from my point of view. And so Pluto, being an actual physical body in the solar system, it is the gatekeeper of that realm that is farthest away from the central core of our being, the sun. And Pluto being the gatekeeper of this realm we can call the collective unconscious. We can call it the Akashic field. We can call it the repository of all the experience that any human has ever had when we have evolved into form. We come into form through our south node, and immediately, going all the way back to the birth of civilization, I've got a chicken, and you've got it, and you're hungry, and you want my chicken, and I say I'll share it, and you say you want it all, and you hit me over the head with a club, and then you carry on that guilt, and you pass that guilt on to your children. Welcome to Pluto. That guilt, that shame, that Melkor-like misuse of knowledge, power, and free will has created a woundedness that is passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation to generation like luggage. And here's this individual with Pluto and Libra in the fourth house. And the story that I was quickly talking about a few minutes ago, there's incredible resonance with that past life story of the woundedness related to family and safety. And here we are in the fourth house, the realm of family and safety. There's no mistake, Pluto is there. And so the wound that has been passed down is that wound of, oh my God, my family might die. Oh my God, there might be this horrible tragedy that threatens my safety. Oh my gosh, I have to protect my heart because Libra, I don't want my relations to suffer, Pluto. And so one of the tricks we use in evolutionary astrology, looking at the Pluto polarity point, what's the way to heal this Pluto shadow? Looking at the Pluto polarity point, 4 degrees Libra, be 4 degrees Aries. This individual is to find their power in the world. Oh, isn't that interesting? Chiron and Eris are square the nodes. These two systems work together beautifully. So we see the involution. Oh, spirit is tripping up, and oh my gosh, I just want to be happy, but oh my gosh, I'm all of a sudden wrapped up in this drama of survival in the world. Here's a story based looking at this chart. You're on the wagon train, and husband goes out ahead to scout, and you're there with your kids and 3 other wagons with their wives and kids, and that's right when they get surrounded, and Mother Bear is there with arrows in her back trying to save her kids. Why did any of that happen? Because of the Pluto wound, because of actually the Eris wound as well. Going back to the birth of civilization, the birth of humanity, the wound that has been passed down. But we come into this, our consciousness comes into this world through the South Node. And what are we to do? We are to learn the North Node. What is our evolution? North Node. Why did our spirit, our consciousness, choose to come into manifestation? Was it the South Node? I feel like that was almost our mistake. Because what we really wanted, North Node in Capricorn, with its ruler, Saturn and Gemini in the 12th house, the ruler, the North Node in Capricorn, the intention of consciousness is to be a strong, mature elder, Capricorn, that offers serious, inspirational, spiritual words, Gemini, to other people, to be a way shower of the way out through this crazy human stuff. So I know we're getting low on time, and I could talk about these topics for about the next 10 to 12 hours. But let me just sum this all up in that I'm suggesting that we as evolutionary astrologers explore our involution. Why did we come into form in the first place? And we came into form in the first place almost tripping over ourselves, because this is a realm of change. This is a realm where people are not always nice. This is a realm where my great thousand great grandfather was killed over a chicken, and that fear has been passed down through generations and has been spread out. So what do we do about it now? What we do about it now is we look at our Pluto polarity point as the way out of, as a way of healing this mess. We look at the planets squaring the nodes as action points to correct our skipped step, to correct that which in a past life held us back, and to always keep our mind's eye, our intention on our evolution on the North Node, which is what we are here to do, which is what the music is that we are to play. So the trajectory of the soul throughout time, as seen through the eclipse points, the trajectory of the soul, the intention of the soul is always shown into the North Node. So as we go about our days as evolutionary astrologers working with clients and stuff, to always keep a look at this North Node and say, this is the meaning of happiness. This is the purpose. This is the reason for being. This is how we evolve. And to always suggest anything else that is in the chart, any challenge ever, any Pluto square, any Saturn opposition, any transit through the 8th house, whatever, the answer always comes down to, what is our happiness? Our happiness is the acknowledgement of the drama that has occurred through the nodes and through the South Node and through Pluto, how to correct it through looking at the skipped steps and the Pluto polarity point, and to keep our attention and intention focused on the North Node of the moon and its ruler as the way out into happiness, into playing our specific, unique, original song. So,
yeah. Gorgeous. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thank you. So yeah, you're welcome. I just wanted to offer that as an exploration, as a curiosity, that maybe gets us thinking about the integration of the Stephen Forrest and the Jeffrey Wolf Green systems, because in this chart, they are so incredibly resonant, and in other charts I've found as well. So
Absolutely.
I know we're 2 minutes over time. Any questions, or boss, where do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, let's have some questions, or how about we can share some comments about your presentation?
Anyone? Bueller?
Give us a moment.
Hi, Ryan. That was great. Thank you so much. So much to absorb and think about what you shared, just kind of the whole involution thing. I've never thought of it like that before. And the chart sharing at the end to bring it home a little bit in involution to evolution towards the North Node. I appreciate that. Nice chalkboard.
Thanks. It's my baby.
It's excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Any other questions, comments, or otherwise?
Yeah, Ryan, what about the big rebooting of next month's eclipses? What do you think about that?
What's my take on the rebooting of the upcoming
eclipses?
The eclipses, the partial and the total.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
The archetype of Leo, I like to with everything, actually any archetype in astrology, I always like to imagine I like to imagine the description of that archetype as it evolves through the previous archetype. So Cancer. So through the Cancer journey, we're going inward. We're finding out what is going on inside of the heart. If the moon and Cancer is our heart, we can look at that physically. I've got this rib cage and I've got this sternum. Thank God I've got this sternum, because if I didn't have this sternum, then my heart would be exposed and anybody could just chew it up whenever they wanted, or here, take my heart. Yeah, I hope you give it back. Could I see your library card? No, we have this hard, necessary protection. And so since we have that protection, we go inside, we go behind that protection, and we find out what's really going on in there. But evolution says we grow, right? Evolution says we come out of that. And so Leo, the archetype of Leo, evolves from Cancer in that once we find the true essence of our heart, it becomes time to bring that out. Leo. So Leo, the archetypology of Leo and the sun, 5th house, is the expression of our heart, the expression of our truth. To the degree we have successfully navigated our interior through the exploration of Cancer, of our heart, then we have a clearer or a more easily presentable expression in Leo. If we know the depths of our heart, then that which we can bring forth is that much easier, that much more radiant, that much more fun, that much more joyous. Because if we go down deep into our heart, past all the wounds and past all the ache and past all the hurt, we find that it's pure joy. So these eclipses, especially the Great American Eclipse, in my observation, is a rebooting of humanity, which encourages our truest expression of our heart. How do we bring that out in the most loving, most presentable, most celebratory way? How have we as humans individually and collectively maybe only brought out a little piece of that? Or maybe only, maybe only presented what we thought you wanted to hear, but wasn't the truth of our heart. So my hope for these upcoming eclipses is that we individually and collectively have a little greater understanding, or the way eclipses sometimes happen, we get slapped in the face a little bit, that shows us, that reflects back to us what our true expression is, what the true gift we have to give the world really is. And most importantly, how to not allow ourselves to keep that light hidden inside. There's so much tragedy in the world, so much environmental degradation. Don't even get me started talking about politics, that the world does not seem currently to be reflecting the best parts of us as humans. And my hope for these eclipses is that that all changes. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. Any this is your last chance for a comment or a question. Okay, thanks everyone. And from our hearts to yours, Ryan Evans, thank you so much.
All right, thank you too. All right, everybody, be well. Thanks for playing along.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Ryan.
All right,
Beautiful
be well.
presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Very interesting.
Thank you. Okay, thanks everybody.